Hey, welcome to Fish Innovation. We got a great guy on today. I'm excited to introduce. He is a marketing extraordinaire. He's in all different areas of AI, marketing. He even has a podcast himself. And we're going to get into that all today. I'd love to bring on to the show Mr. Joe Moore. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Hey, Ben, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Love it. I'm glad you could take time out of your busy day. I know you got a lot going on. One great thing I know you do is Alignable, which is awesome. You have a great following, love coming to your sessions. It's always such an upbeat place to be. And I love it because it creates a lot of thought from folks. Where we start is you sort of giving a little bit of background, your history and everything like that, and talk about your journey of where you got to today.
So I was born in North Dakota, and now I'm in South Dakota. No, I'm kidding. That's a silly way to start. I started out doing digital marketing 2007, mostly on the side, and I ended up becoming vice president of a tea company. Kind of had to learn pretty much all of it. So starting from content management systems into learning how to do Facebook ads, Google ads, all those different types of traffic strategies. And then through that, I ended up working at USA Today as a digital strategist. I did win a bunch of awards, and it was a fun time. It was also a time where I got frustrated with the corporate world in what they would offer. And so that's when I got to Digital Cowboy and Rep Upgrade, which is one of my products. And that's where we're at today. Alignable, as you mentioned, is one of my main source really of clients, of partners, of collaborations. I love it there. 8.5 million small business owners, and versus the other guy, not that there's anything wrong with that one, but you talk to real people on Alignable, and that's what I love about it.
That's great. It's interesting to hear, a lot of people, a lot of founders I have on here, they say, didn't like corporate, needed to leave and get stuff done. And it sounds like you were an all-star, winning awards, and just as a cultural fit just wasn't there. Uh, so you started to do Digital Cowboy. I'd love to hear more about Digital Cowboy. Talk to me about sort of your setup, what it is, not just your offerings, but what is the culture you created with Digital Cowboy and your clients?
Yeah. So I think that the biggest thing missing from most small businesses, especially most small local businesses, is they don't realize that Google Business Profile is going to be their number one thing. Over almost everything else, even over a website to some extent. It is the who, the what, the where, the when, the why, the how of your business. And especially for local business, especially for home service based type of businesses, it's exceptionally, exceptionally important. So just by filling that thing out, you'll rank ahead of 46% of businesses, because only 54% of businesses right now have ever even done the thing, which is pretty incredible. So when I was at some of my past positions, I said, I think this is a product we should offer. Unfortunately, it just wasn't something we could offer. So before I left, I started kind of trying to figure out and archetyping what this business looked like. And that's when I was able to partner with a SaaS company and build out something originally called Rep Upgrade. It's not called Authority Builder, but it's a product that allows small business owners to get reviews via text message, QR codes, and email on a mass scale. So when you combine Google Business Profile, when it's optimized with a optimized website and with these reviews, and every single time you get a keyword, whatever your keywords are. So if you sell refrigerators, every single time someone mentions refrigerators in those reviews, Google automatically wants to rank you higher. So then initially when I got to Alignable, that was my thought process, was I was going to sell a bazillion of those. It didn't turn out in the way that I initially planned.
And bazillion's an official number too, right? So just a little bit more than a Google or something. I love that the reviews helping folks with being able to show, their social credibility based on peer reviews of their services, really important, especially for local businesses. Do you have any funny stories or something, with any of your current clients who are using the platform?
Funny. I don't know about funny. I think what's interesting when we use the platform is there is some expectation of reviews just pulling in, and that's going to be the end of it. But what ends up happening a lot of the times is businesses don't necessarily realize the negative reviews that come in. And those negative reviews are almost as powerful, if not more powerful, than the positive reviews that come into the business. And one example is I did work with an ISP, an internet service provider once. We sent out some emails. We got not very many, a very small amount as a test. And we got back 11 negative reviews, 11 negative feedback pieces. And what ended up happening with that is that essentially saved their business, because that came from a box of routers. All the routers in that box were bad. So when they went back and tested the routers, when they found out all 11 of them were bad, well, they would have continued to install those routers. If it had gotten any worse and those reviews had started to hit Google, I mean, they would have had anything less than 4 stars on Google, and you end up 87% of people just automatically disqualify you. So there's good stories, there's bad stories. I think that's a good story in a way, because we did save the business in that regard. They were not happy with the results, but I was like, think you guys, we saved your business, and they didn't see that. But
I love that. I mean, you're laughing a little bit. I think it's not funny, haha, but it's more funny that coincidence, right? It's being able to see the feedback, and I think that's a huge difference. I mean, you mentioned reviews to start, and then it kind of turned into feedback. So I think it's really beneficial for these businesses to be able to see that, right? Like, what, not just, okay, I'm getting negative comments, which is great. It's not going live on the Google Business Profile, so I can still keep high rates. It's just that now, though, I get to the root cause of what could be happening. And so it's taking that extra step, like you said, with the router company, to say, maybe we need to check this out. There's a lot of people, and sure enough, it was, and it saved their business. So I think that's a great, case study, or folks, need to understand why getting something like Authority Builder would be great to have, no matter what their business is, because I think everybody needs feedback, and they're not always going to get it. And this is a great way to solicit it. So doing, Authority Builder, that's great. Talk to me a little bit more what Digital Cowboy's got going on today.
Yeah, so my main thing that I do, Ben, is something called the Hero's Journey, and that is where I walk people down their own hero's journey. Before we get to building authority, we have to have clarity, right? If we don't have clarity in what we do and who we serve, then it's really, really hard to keep going in any direction, because it kind of feels like you're flailing when we don't have clarity in what we do. So I walk people through their hero's journey. And what that means is the hero's journey is the same story. It's the same that's been told a million times over the centuries. And it's also written into a book by Joseph Campbell called The Hero's Journey, a beautiful, beautiful piece of channeled work. And what I do is I take AI, I go live with it, and I go live with the person, and we use their words. So we start with their values. We go from their values, we build out a philosophy. Once we know what they do and who they work for, that becomes this vision that we can actually see. When we have the vision, we can see, we write out with the pen our mission. And so I walk people through that journey. It's a really fun thing to do. I make a lot of people cry then. Most of the time, it's good tears.
That's awesome.
Occasionally we run across a little bit of an existential crisis. And the thing is we're only trying to unlock their frequency. So if we have the frequency of the individual and how they are in a one-to-one, and then we can get that frequency down and we can put it down onto their landing page, onto their website. Well, now our language and our traffic and our conversion and our one-to-ones, wherever we go, it's the same. So it automatically, when people have that, when they know you in that regard, it automatically increases the chance of conversion when the opportunity arises.
Yeah, I love this concept of a hero's journey. It's very unique. I think we get a lot of folks, I'm sure you see this, their websites. You always hear feedback like, oh, you need to make sure you got your main point on the page. If you only get 2-3 seconds. And so, you might have a plumber saying, well, I'm a plumber. I do plumbing, right? It should be very clear. But there's a lot of plumbers out there. How am I going to differentiate between what I do versus the other guy? Yes, you could say reviews, but it's not as clear cut. And so I think having this hero's journey, you're able to unlock what the business owner is really good at, right? What is their superhero, capability or superpower, right? And I think it's awesome, because then once you've got that hero's journey, like you said, it all just flows, and they're able to exemplify that and show that in the web page, which then sounds like you also help them build that out and create awesome imagery,
Yeah.
artistic, excellent strategies to get people engaged based on them as, their
Yeah, when we have that foundation, then when we build out the words that really mean something to us, that's when we can have an impact on other people. I talk a lot about what you said, above the fold on the homepage. What are we answering that call? Are we saying what it is we do and who we do it for right there? Or is it a bunch of fluff? And so many times we get cute about things. We try and get too far into our own story. We don't necessarily realize that other people can't see that, and we don't have plain language there. And at the same time, how do we build power language into that really affects people, that people walk away and they go, oh my gosh, I've never thought about it in that way. And so our words truly do build worlds. And when we start with the core, with that core foundation, in my opinion, what I've seen is when our values at the beginning, when we don't have difficulty at the beginning, it's much harder to have difficulty later on. And that's because we've built this foundation that is solid. Too many times, I'll be honest with you, when I get messages, they'll say things like, Facebook didn't work, or TV didn't work, or billboards didn't work. And I've heard that over and over and over again. Then I'll literally ask them, I'll say, well, who built your website? Or I won't even ask them. I'll just go look. Well, it's clear, Ben, that their neighbor's kid, who took a ninth grade graphic design class built it. It's been a year, it's almost done. They're excited about it, but anybody can build a website. I think it's an amazing thing. Anybody can build a website. I think the thing to take away from it, though, is websites don't sell anything. Words do. And if our words are not correct from the beginning, and if we don't have that aligned throughout our traffic and throughout our conversion, we don't have that core frequency that we're giving off. It just makes life harder. It's not like you can't convert things without doing that, but why do it if
Yeah, no,
you should have?
I agree. And I've seen you in action. For those listening, it's mesmerizing. One recently, we won't, say the name of the company, but they were a local business, and yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of comments. I really don't understand my website, but we didn't think it was that big of a deal. And so Joe took the time to really pull out of them, what is it? What's their hero's journey? And in a few seconds, they were able to have, now I know what I need to have on here and what it is I'm doing. And it was very clear. And it was like this big aha. And I think it was great to really see the eyes widen and the person get really excited to see that. And so for those out there, I've seen, they make their own websites with AI. You mentioned the ninth grader across the street, but AI is a great tool. I just don't think it gets to what you're talking about, right? It doesn't walk them through the hero's journey. So it just creates a website. Speaking of AI, are you using AI today, either with Digital Cowboy in your daily life? And what are some of your thoughts on it?
Yeah, AI today and the tools. I have so many tools I'm using, Ben. I do use Breezy AI to build most of my websites or wireframes. So yeah, a lot of the times I'll just work with a web designer. I won't actually build it. I'll just work on the words, do it in that way. Well, then it becomes a wireframe. I still use Breezy AI because I like custom and format is everything. So a lot of the, when we have the words correct, that I always like to use this example, like if I'm driving down the highway and I see you got your hand out and I pull over and you're like, hey man, I'm going up the road half an hour. Can you give me a ride? And I look at you and I'm like, hey man, I love the Denver Broncos and I love Coors Light, or I used to love Coors Light. And I can't believe how cold it is here in South Dakota. I used to have so much more hair, man. I used to have so much more. You would be like, you know what? I'm good. I'll actually walk. I'm comfortable. And you would not let me pick you up. So many times the custom and format on these websites is incorrect. What I love about Breezy AI, and there's a bunch of other ones. Butternut's really cool too, actually. I've seen some of the stuff you're doing with Butternut. I really liked it. I think there's another one actually on AppSumo right now, a third one.
We're going to try and get a Butternut founder on here as well for her to talk. Yeah, this is your show, but just, so those that want to listen on what Butternut's all about or interested in building their own website, use Butternut, but then of course talk with Joe to get the language correct.
Well, that's the thing. I think Butternut does a really, really good job. I was kind of blown away by that one website they built, mainly because of well, we don't have it up. It's harder to see, but the way that it was built and the styling on the sides, I was really, really impressed. But yeah,
I mean,
I
we can
love that. I
show it if
love
you want.
Marky. What's that?
I mean, we can bring it up if you want.
Yeah. Well, all the AI builders are great. I think it does come down to custom and format. So it really, like, if you hit your audience so many times, especially when people build their own, they'll talk about all of their accolades. And what people don't realize, but people do not care about you. They don't care. And you might have all the accolades in the world, but it does not matter. They just
Yeah,
want
unless
to
you're like
insert.
Tony Robbins or someone famous that
Yeah.
we're like, okay, great, we'll read about your list, but we already know you're great, so we don't need to.
If you have an audience already, right? You have that audience and they love you. Yes, 100%. Tony Robbins is a good example. Oprah Winfrey. You could have a smaller audience though, and just be the head of like some channel on 4chan or something. People would respect you. But nonetheless, yeah, they don't care about your accolades. They want to know, can you solve their problem? And so I think the hardest thing that you have with building AI websites and the language with it is where you getting into the head of the user. You know, who are you talking to? Who's that you're speaking with? And what are they saying in their heads? What are the questions they're asking themselves? Are you putting that on the page? You know, that's what really pulls them in and draws them in. So solve
Yeah.
that.
No, I mean, this is exactly right. And I think a lot of folks aren't thinking about that in terms of what is the pain point. They already have the solution in mind and they just say, hey, yeah, everyone's going to get it. I mean, that's great, but it's always good to start with what is the problem, right? And then what are the pain points around that problem? And then the solution you have is that the sweet solution to do it, right? To solve their pain point. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of upfront work and knowing your audience, which is interesting when we talk about websites, because you think, well, wait, I'm posting this for the world to see, right? But again, it's only going to resonate with the right people. So I think that's where like SEO comes in, a couple other tactics, but to your point, words matter, and that's going to boost everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously tactics are super, super important. But at the end of the day, when someone tries to wheel and deal me,
We talked about the AI, we talked about a lot of great things that you're doing right now, Hero's Journey. Love to hear you're a great thinker, great thought leader. Would love to hear sort of what do you see coming in the future when it comes to marketing, websites, AI, how Hero's Journey, how these local small businesses and small business owners can really start to be on that wave, on the crest of that wave, and not trying to ride the back of it.
yeah, I think that's such an interesting question. With the advent of AI, there is no way a human-made algorithm like Google's can compete with an LLM, a large language model, because it's just going to predict the next words that are coming up. And I don't even, just speaking on that level of the AI, when we see it, and as everyone does, we all use Google when we're looking for something. We've started to see these AI responses come back, which is going to become more and more and more common as the AI answer will come first. And the main reason, I think, for most people to understand is that the more specific you get to what you do and who you do it for, right? The more clear you are about that, and then your authority, those two things will become exceptionally important. And that's why I've shaped my business around it. I realize that is the future. If you look at it, in the past, there was a lot of ways to what we call black hat or gray hat Google's algorithms in order to hack it. I mean, originally, this is a true story. When it came out in, 1999, 2000, 2002, if you wanted to rank at the very top of Google, like you had a baseball bat store, you want to rank at the top of Google, you just go to the top of Google, you put baseball bat repeatedly over and over and over again in the header. And then you just change the header color and the font to the same color. So nobody would know it was there. Instantaneously, you'd rank number one on Google because it was the most used keyword. Now, obviously, the algorithm has changed tremendously since then. But so the strategies changed. And when the strategies changed, they went to these things called long tail keywords. Long tail keywords were, instead of putting in buy shoes, you'd put in buy red and gold blue Nikes. That'd be a long tail keyword. that we would use. And I use that strategy to rank a tea company at the very, very top of Google, multiple different keywords. What's going to happen with large language models and the way that they take information and the way we're getting answers back in that way is the more specific you are, especially if you're doing personal branding, which will continue to grow because large business is going to continue to, I don't want to say crumble, but it's going to change in a whole different way. Large business will, and small business will grow. And the main reason is because we can get very specific when we're asking for things now. Small business, if they take advantage of this, there's no big wheels to turn, if that makes sense. So small business can take advantage of this right away. If you go and you give the information to Google, like I was talking about with Google Maps, it's the same thing though with AI. And when you're talking to the AI or you're telling the AI about your business, the more specific you are, and that includes on your website, on your landing pages, within your traffic, that language that you get, the more the AI picks up, well, the higher the chance that you're going to rank at the top of Google because you've got very specific into your answer about what you do for people or businesses or whatever. So, in my opinion, grasp AI. That's the big takeaway.
Yeah, no, I love that sentiment because I love that small business owners can do it really quickly, right? And this is, the audience is folks that would like to learn this and do it. And it's awesome. I know there's always some strategy to do, and we always want to be white hat about it because we don't want to get shut down. And I love hearing, how they can do that. It's a great segue into my next question, which is, you've been doing this a long time. You're helping a lot of small business owners do this. What would you say, or what would you want to teach these small business owners that it's something that they always seem to not know, that you're always helping them understand or shed light on so that they have, whether it's another weapon in their arsenal that they could use or something that it's like, wow, I did not know that. And now I'm much better for it.
Okay. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, you can go ahead and share your screen.
Awesome. I think the biggest one for most small business owners is definitely Google Business Profile. But for those of small business owners that are using AI, and especially ChatGPT, but this is really true across, I think, almost all of them now. Anthropic, I know, has it. Claude. Perplexity, I know, has it because I've used it in Perplexity. Most of the big names have something like this. I love ChatGPT. My point when I got started with it was to get 10,000 hours in before anybody else. So I use the majority of ChatGPT, and that's what you're going to see today. But if they've never used something called custom instructions within ChatGPT, this will be pretty different. Let me go back here to within ChatGPT, we've got a lot of different things that we can do. Most small business owners don't realize this. Up here is Sora, which is the video creator. Over here is Explore GPTs. These are super GPTs. That means if you are looking for something really specific, you can go find something really specific within these GPTs and understand a subject very, very quickly. So the one I'm going to talk about today is actually not either one of those. I'm going to jump over here to my corner. You see my Digital Cowboy. I'm going to click on him, and then I'm going to go to Customize Chat GPT. This is called Custom Instructions. And as of last week, this has changed. So as you can see, I have two spots that are well, they weren't there before, so they're just not filled out yet. But this is a way to truly, truly customize ChatGPT so you become, I always say 1,000 times more effective, efficient, creative, insert adjective. But honestly, I don't know what that number is. It might be, it's similar to what Russell Brunson says about recreating yourself with video. Here we've recreated a thing that can be us. So when we get an answer out of it, like, it really sounds like us. It really, that's the thing. And so, especially when we're researching with it, when we're working with it, when we're using it in any way to synthesize information, we automatically, when it comes out based upon us, it is shocking on how much faster we can get things done.
Agreed. This is, very powerful. I use it myself as well. It's a way to better train personalize your own model so that you get a lot of the more answers you're looking for, and ways that it can engage with you. I think it's really interesting. I actually have in my custom instructions, I ask it to, because my background is product management, I ask it to push back on me and ask me, is this what you should be doing? Is this, well, I have someone to engage with?
Yeah.
This,
I love that. I love that. But we'll give them an example, Ben. We'll show them what this kind of does when we have it programmed. I'll use mine, obviously. Here's mine in front of us. Talk about it just a tiny bit here. So this got switched. This is actually backwards now, Ben. I don't know if you knew this or not. This
yeah,
was
I
up here
saw that.
before, and this is down here. I did not know that till the day I was showing this to somebody else. Anyway, so in mine, I've got my Clifton strengths. I love my Clifton strengths. If you don't know Clifton, definitely go check it out. But my number one is achiever. That's my driver. And then these four support me. I've got my ENFJ in there. So that's my Myers-Briggs. A crystallizer assessment, that's EOS. I won't go through all of these. I don't want to bore people, but whatever test is what I tell people, whatever really truly appeals to you should go into this if you think it makes it part of you or part of your personality. I have my human design in there. Of all the silly tests that I took, that was probably the most powerful one. My VIA characteristics, excuse me, I like to bring this one up because if you look at what VIA is, that's humor, spirituality, gratitude, fairness, and hope. So it gives style, it gives flair to your bot. So when you take that test and you put those in there, you're going to get that kind of, that feeling out of it in the language that it uses. And then finally, this part is always the part that everybody goes, what? No, what does that do? But if you put in the style of how you like things and you put in your actual hex colors, so hex colors are the numbers, you can go ahead and it'll produce things that are content very similar to what you want, if not the exact content. It's very, very, very cool. Let me jump out of here, hit save or cancel. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm hanging out with my buddy Ben on his podcast, Fish Innovation. Fish Innovation. And what we're doing right now is we just want to come up with a logo, but we want to come up with more of the blue and have like kind of a purple tint around the background. And then, but use the rest of my custom instructions. And, with Fish Innovations, I think it's kind of interesting. What if we did something around, the fish, the one fish, the fish that feeds everybody. It's on the back of all the cars. I don't know what I'm talking about right now, but it doesn't matter because here's the crazy part of this. I just said that terrible, 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 undetailed, awful instruction. We will see what it comes up with. Give me 3 iterations on that, please. And please only give me the design of those prompts for now. Don't actually design them. Thank you. Oh, also, make them for Flux, the graphic model Flux, Flux. Thanks. I just love it when it spells the wrong thing up there. It doesn't matter though, honestly.
oh, I know it doesn't. It knows exactly what to do.
Ooh, look at that, Ben. What is itch this?
I'll have to go look
Itch
that
this.
up.
Very cool.
Maybe
That's
that's
all.
what well, you said it's on the back of cars, so I'm thinking maybe ChatGPT knew what you're referring to, and that could be it.
Very, very cool. But yeah, I mean, we'll produce one of them and then we can quit on this thing. But let's tell it to, why don't you go ahead? Why don't you give me the first one? Let's just see how that looks. And this is what's really cool about it. I mean, obviously you can get lost in here and you can play in this thing all day.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn to avoid that. But when you're working with a client, especially if you're a creative, this is just a phenomenal tool, not only for graphics like this, but to come up with the language, to come up with the color. It's such a, wow.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, man, you got
Yeah.
like a dream catcher.
Yeah, I think it's a great, AI is used for a great brainstorming tool or a way to help visualize the words, make communication great. And people, I think, will appreciate what you've given them with these custom instructions, and it'll help up their Gen AI game. And a lot of folks will be able to become a better small business owner because of what you had to speak to today. With a few minutes we have left, I'd love to hear any parting thoughts that you have for folks, how they could strive for success, help grow their business, whatever it is you think would be great to hear.
I think probably, let's see, I go with a quote. How about that, Ben? We'll go with a quote. So I'll say this to a few of you out there who are listening, but givers need to know when to quit giving because takers don't know how to quit taking. And that was a big thing that I learned in business my first year. And I think it's really important for some people out there to hear that. Not everybody needs to hear that, but I definitely needed to hear it. So hopefully if that just hits one person out there and they get it, that'll be worth it. For future and the businesses going forward, my suggestion when we look at AI is to get a hold of somebody working in it, talk to people about how it can advance your business. And I think that the toughest part about AI and what it can do is it's just you insert it into anything and it becomes more efficient, more effective, no matter what it is. And I think for the most part, people are worried about, well, jobs, what's going to happen, with all of that. And I think the one thing we have to remember is that back in the day, the guys who wrote in the sand were pretty freaked out when the abacus came out. They're like, that's our job. That's our job. And abacus came out. Now everybody can do math, right? Well, if you fast forward to 1976, you had the mechanical calculator came out and all the accountants went off crazy. Oh my God, everybody's losing. All the accountants are done. And then you fast forward to 1995, 7, 8, and Excel came out. Pretty much everybody in the math world thought their jobs were gone. And they were to some extent. But Excel created more jobs. The abacus created more jobs. The calculator created more jobs. The amount of efficiency that's created with AI across the board will create brand new jobs for people. And honestly, if it's used correctly and we don't try and put a harness on it, because I think if we put a harness on it, that's going to be the biggest. And I say that in multiple ways, but I think that's the toughest part is understanding that it's very, 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 very powerful. And every government wants to have their own most powerful one. And so it's just something to think about.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, AI is a tool, but a tool is only as good as its user. So I think we're going to see people who are able to use it well are going to be able to, job wise, definitely not just keep their job, but do better at their job and become higher performers. It's another tool they could have. And it helps people deepen and broaden their thinking. Just right now, we're just using it as a brainstorming tool, right? We would have had to find a sketch artist.
Did you see that Meta put $60 billion into its AI stuff over the next year or whatever?
No, I didn't. That's insane.
And Trump did like $150 billion or $200 billion into the AI thing he just signed. It's going to create 200. You see any of this?
No.
There's a third one too, where they're releasing numbers right now about how much money they're going to put into it. We should probably look at those, by the way.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Just saying.
No, I mean, yeah, I think it's something. It's the future, and folks are thinking about how to do things more efficient, and I think that's important, especially with all the technology and tools we have. I want to thank you very much for coming onto the show. We'll have your links, Digital Cowboy, down in the comments section on YouTube and other platforms. Folks will be able to access and check out your site and see what you do. On Alignable, they can search you out as Joe Moore. I highly recommend doing that and finding, opportunity to come to any of his sessions throughout the week. They're great to be a part of. And again, once again, I want, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to come here, and looking forward to what we got. Thank you, Joe. And this has been Fish and a Mutual. Appreciate you all listening, and keep on innovating.